Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'll give it a few moments for everyone to join. This is our Q&A session, our clinical research Q&A session. So I welcome all comments and questions in the chat, and we're just going to work through as many questions as we can in the next hour. Let me know if you can hear me okay, and then we'll get started soon. All right, perfect. I have my first confirmation that you can hear me loud and clear. Um, okay, just a quick intro about myself. I have officially made it to 20 years in the industry as of this past July. I got started as a CRC at the site level, working with the PI and the sub-Is. After about 4 years of CRC, I did transition to the CRA role. And I did that for another 3.5 years before getting my first opportunity to work for a small pharmaceutical company. And I was a project manager. And then over the last 12 or so years, I have been in the lead CRA slash CTM role. And I am here to answer questions that you may have about the clinical research industry. I do have my master's in clinical research as well as a certificate in clinical trials design. And you may have, but I am the instructor for a clinical trial manager course that is for aspiring and current CTMs that are looking to learn more about the CTM role or even level up their current understanding and get those pro tips on how to be the best of the best. Thank you. Thank you for 20 years. I have some gray hairs due to it, but it's been an amazing time. I can still smile, sit here and smile, and I enjoy it. So I have a passion to speak to other clinical research professionals and assist wherever I can. So I see the first question coming in. What types of trackers do you use? Great question. So it depends on your role. If you're a CRC, you would use maybe a tracker to help you project patient visits and where your patients are on each of the studies to kind of keep everything, streamlined. And so you have a really good overview at any one time. If you're a CRA, you may keep trackers to, you usually extract trackers from like your CTMS system to see open action items, look at your upcoming monitoring schedule. You also would go in the EDC system to pull open queries, uh, open queries, missing pages, and anything within the EDC that your sites need to address so you can prepare before your visit. Or if you're a CTM, you'll keep trackers, like a study startup tracker is a big one if you're in startup, and you track each stage that a site is at. So you'll know when this site is going to be activated. So they got the CDA in place. We had a PSV. We sent out the regulatory packet. They got IRB approval. The binders have gone out to the sites. So it really depends on what role you are in, will depend on kind of what trackers you would have. But those are just some examples there. Great question. It's always good to organize yourself as a clinical research professional. I will link, there is a video that I did on how to organize your Outlook inbox. We get a ton of emails in our inbox every day. And so I use conditional formatting. So when someone emails me, it comes up in a specific color. So when someone says, "Hi, Tiffany," it's in pink. When my manager emails me, it's in blue. And so you can use that to really help filter and see your emails that need to be addressed versus those that are copied. So that's another tip. So I will link that video, that YouTube video on how to organize your Outlook inbox. So all kind of tips that you can gather from other professionals are very helpful along the way. Great question. Okay, so here's a question. I have no experience in clinical research. I'm currently enrolled in Morehouse Clinical Research Coordinator Certificate Program. Would that give me a push to get a role as a coordinator? Yes, that's a good step. I would say, depending on what that program has in it, most likely it would have good clinical practice. If it does not, make sure that you take a course on good clinical practice as well. And then your biggest thing is you want to network and look at the clinical research centers in your area. You want to, after you take that certificate program and format your resume, go in and talk to the director, go in and talk to the head of clinical research there, or the manager, or it may even be the PI. And you want to ask if there's any opportunity that you can come in, and you may have to volunteer at first a couple hours a week where you're helping with chart review or helping with organization. And the reason being is you want to get your foot in the door, and you also want to show that, hey, you are knowledgeable about clinical research, you're a hard worker, and that is your step in. That could be one of your step ins to get in. Another one could be applying for, jobs in your area, clinical research coordinator positions, but make sure you pay attention to what they are asking for in their job requirements, because you want to make sure that you are coming with the skill set that they're asking for. And usually, they want you to be familiar with medical terminology. So if you're not familiar with medical terminology, that could be another course you can supplement with. But the bottom line is, even as a coordinator, you have to come in with a knowledge base, because it's so busy, and they need CRCs to just hit the ground running. They can do some training, but having a knowledge base of good clinical practice, medical terminology, and your certificate program is going to set you apart from someone who doesn't know anything about research but wants to be in research. So great question. Um, Definitely good question. We get that a lot about those that want to get in as a coordinator. All right, let's see. What certificates would you recommend for someone with no experience looking to get into clinical research industry, BS in biology? So similar, you want to do your good clinical practice. You want to learn about medical terminology, being familiar with that. It would be good that also, if you're not currently in a certificate program, such as the previous question that we have, that you're familiar with the drug development process. There's a lot of tools that are on YouTube. I know Dan Safera has a really good 5-hour crash course on clinical research. So that can also be something that you look into. But the bottom line is you have to come up to speed on what we do in the industry and why we do it and the roles that you would be interacting with. Perfect. And Jasmine, you said you're a CRA too in regards to what trackers to use. So there is a video on YouTube that I did for data management, like the trackers to pull from the data management system, your EDC. That one's going to really help you there. And our YouTube channel is at ClinEssentials, and we post videos on various topics for CRAs, CRCs, CTMs. So definitely subscribe, because you may have a lot of, you may get a lot of your questions answered. Hi, Tiffany. I have been in clinical research for 6 years and work currently in data management. I have friends who want to expand into CRA roles and remote monitoring. What advice would you give for someone looking for this type of role? Thank you so much. Okay, so you have been in clinical research, but my question is for your friends who want to expand into the CRA role, have they been in clinical research already or are they new? So, just one caveat, the CRA is not a brand new to research type of role. You want to start at least one step down or one step over. That's just not an entry level. This is my first exposure to clinical research role. And the reason being is you're going to be interacting with your sites, your PIs, your study coordinators who are looking for you to be the solution bringer. You're solving issues, you're analyzing inclusion, exclusion criteria. You're the one that they can turn to when they have questions about the protocol and how to conduct the study. And if you're entry level, brand new to the industry, that's scary. That's a lot of stress when you know you have 15 different sites, they're coming to you with different questions, and so it's always good to get a foundation. Now, there are some companies that will train you to be an entry level, but usually they want you to be coming from a similar background or a study coordinator. You can be a foreign MD. You can also be coming from maybe data management. If you need to bridge that gap and you're coming from another role, it's a little bit easier, but entry level is not CRA. You definitely want to start as a CTA, an in-house CRA, a study coordinator. Any of those roles would be great to start off as. And the biggest thing that I would say is if they're currently in clinical research and they want to move to a CRA role, they need to network. If they're a CRC, they want to move to CRA, network with your CRAs. If you are in-house CRA or CTA or in the data management department, make sure you communicate your goal to your manager so they can look for opportunities where you can be brought into a training program or shadow someone. So network, make sure you speak with your manager about your career objective, and then also be realistic. If you're brand new to industry, CRA is not the brand new jump right in, I don't know anything role, because it's going to be very stressful, very, very stressful there. But great question. This one says, um, are you looking, are you SMF and ISF? SMF, what? I haven't seen that. I've heard regulatory binder, ISF, investigator site file. Are you talking about TMF maybe? TMF, trial master file? Oh, that may be it. Trial master file. So trial master file is what all of the study documents are housed, with the exception of patient-specific source. So source is not housed in the trial master file, but basically the trial master files is the sponsor's way to prove that the study occurred, and also be able to duplicate or replicate the study if they were ever audited. If they say, well, we need to see your records, it's their master place of storing all the records. So they're going to be study level records, and then they're going to be certain site level records like the medical license, the 1572, the financial disclosure form, the GCP certificates for all of the site staff, the delegation log, the training log, but we're not going to add subject information in there. It's not going to be in there. Now, on the ISF side, that's the site file. So anything related to that site, both study-wide and site level, so same documents, regulatory documents, plus the protocol, templates, correspondence is at the site level. So the ISF is site level, Trial master file, which I think that is the overarching study level filing. That's the difference between the two. Great question. Um, Hi, Tiffany. I have a BS in microbiology and want to get into clinical research. Where do I start? So the question is, do you have your foundation courses? Um, Same thing. You GCP, understanding the drug development process. What's the difference between phase one, two, three, four studies? Also understanding and looking at the roles. What role resonates with you? Do you want to be on the site side? Do you want to be data manager working on data management? Do you want to eventually be a CRA? Do you eventually want to be a clinical trial manager? So you want to get a foundation, but then you also want to look at what kind of role do you want to be in as well, and set realistic expectations. There is a video called Tips for Having a Career in Clinical Research that you can review, and that will kind of help you. That's on YouTube under the ClinEssentials page. That can help you kind of orient the different roles. But just do those foundational courses. Whoever is trying to come in, you have to know what is good clinical practice. Can we use whiteout in this industry? We know as clinical research professionals, that's a big no-no. You can't use whiteout. But someone coming in from a different industry, they will say, oh, what's wrong with whiteout? But in the documentation, that's not following Alcoa principles. So learning Alcoa, learning GCP, all of those things, it's key to being able to perform in any role. Great question. What advice would you give to someone starting a clinical research coordinator role coming from a non-clinical background? Learn all you can. Learn, learn, learn. If you have colleagues that and you have extra time and their studies in closeout, your studies in maintenance, ask them if you can help them. Ask them if you can be like a backup study coordinator. You want to learn as much as you can as a study coordinator, from study startup all the way through closeout, how patient scheduling is done, how patients are recruited, how to do laboratory processing if you have the credentials to do that and desire to do that, how to look through medical records. Learn everything. No stone unturned in as a clinical coordinator, because that's going to help you when you continue to grow in your career. Really understanding everything that's done at a site level, you're going to be so good. If you want to go to a CRA or if you want to be a CTM, you're going to understand site operations. And so that's my biggest advice, is learn all you can as a coordinator. Ask questions, network with your monitors, think of new initiatives. If you're saying, well, we might need to do a lunch and learn in our community to spread awareness about clinical research, suggest new initiatives. Just feel free to spread your wings and learn as much as you can during that time. Yep. FDA.gov for free training. Um, I know that there's city that may be paid. I think that's paid. NIDA has some training, but you can just put in some key terms within Google and you can see good clinical practice. City and NIDA, those are reputable ones, but you can also learn. There's a GCPfinding.com. They have a course online and you can get a certificate. They also have practice activities that you can do if you are a CRA. So there's a lot of different tools that you can use and capitalize on online. What is ECTM? I've never heard of that. I've heard of CTM, clinical trial manager. But what is ECRF? Clarify that one for me, and then I can come back to that. But clinical trial manager is the clinical trial manager. They are over the study. So they manage the study and they have CRAs under them. And then the CRAs go to various sites on the study. So the CTM is basically the project lead and ensure everything stays on track. I have 1 year clinical research experience in another country. Here, there are certifications required. There are there are certifications required, and I never get selected for clinical research associate. So one of the things that you have 1 year clinical research experience in another country. Is that CRA experience or is that CRC experience? What type of experience is it? Because your resume may not show that you have enough experience to go into the CRA position. CRA position is usually you can be a coordinator. I was a coordinator for 4 years before I went to CRA. You usually, at bare minimum, need to have at least 2 years of previous experience in the clinical research going into clinical research associate. So it depends. And also, you need to look at the job description because it will say there, we're looking for this CRA role. We're looking for someone to have X amount of years experience. Don't overlook that because in the competitive market, like it is, they're looking for the ones that meet the best criteria. So if they're looking for 3 years, they want 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the people that are meeting that. 6 months or 1 year, you're not close enough for them for that particular role. But there are roles that have some additional flexibility, but you just have to be aware and watch the job description and what the requirements are. In the US, certifications, I never get selected for clinical research associate in US. Certifications are required. In the US, no, not necessarily. See, you can be a CRA without being certified CRA, but you do have to be mindful of the job requirements. And I think that it's just because you don't have enough experience to go into the CRA role. But this is just based off of this question that you're posing here. I would need to also know a little bit more background. Um, Desiree, how I have a PhD in clinical chemistry. Yeah, definitely. That's good. And we just want to make sure if you're trying to get into clinical research, make sure that you still do those foundational courses as well. How to be successful clinical research manager without a proper handover or training from the previous manager. Yeah, that's a tough one. Sometimes it happens. You kind of fall into a role, or the person that was there before left suddenly, and you're given it, and you're like, "Whoa, what happened?" So how to without proper. You're gonna have to spend some time, and unfortunately, you're gonna have to kind of piece things together. You're going to need to go through previous meeting minutes or project clinical research manager. You may be on the site side, or you could be on the sponsor side. So let's just say you're on the site side first. You want to go through follow-up letters. You want to pull some reports in IRT to see the status of each one of your patients. You want to spend some time in your EDC to see where each one of your patients are. And this can relate to if you're a CRC as well or a lead CRC. Sometimes titles are used interchangeably. And so I'm assuming in this role that you could be at the site side. So look through past follow-up letters, look through the EDC, look through the IRT, ask maybe the PI if they're aware of kind of like the history on the study. You can also speak with this monitor and say, hey, the previous person left. Can you kind of fill me in on where our site is, what's outstanding? And so you kind of have to piece that together. Now, if you're in the clinical research manager CTM space and you don't get a proper handover as well, you need to do the same, but you're going to be looking at meeting minutes, decision logs, frequently asked questions, some of those study level documents to piece things together. You also want to look at Um, you also want to look at the EDC, work with DM as well to look at the overall picture of the study, the metrics. So you're going to have to piece it together. Now, to alleviate that, we do have a free checklist, whether you are CRC or CTM, that you can use to help with your study transitions, to ask the key questions so you won't be like our colleague here that is trying to piece things together. So if you're transitioning, I'll put that link as well out where you can get our free study transition guide where you can ask those key questions, get the links, get the contacts, so you won't be on the receiving end trying to piece things together because you didn't get a proper handover. So it happens a lot, unfortunately, and you're going to have to spend just a little bit more time there. Okay. Hello from India. I am pursuing an advanced PG diploma in clinical research, which will offer me a US certification. Please tell me, am I in the right path for developing a career in clinical research? So, sounds like you are, but this is just what I have right here. I need additional information. Also, what role in clinical research are you pursuing? So that would be the question. CRC, CRA, CTM. You may not get there initially, but what's your ultimate goal? And so that's, we have to think about like, what is our ultimate goal? And is this going to help me get to my ultimate goal? On our website, if let's just say, for instance, you are a clinical trial manager, on the ClinEssentials.com website, there is a transition to free, a free transition to CTM guide. So if you want to be a CTM, there's a guide that will kind of outline the roles that usually transition to CTM, and it will help you there. So it really depends on where you're trying to go. So send me a message afterwards so I can get a little bit more clarity there on what your ultimate goal is in clinical research. Yes, this one, Patty said, attend ACRP, SOCRA, Magi, Save Our Sites events to network and learn. Exactly. I'm going to be at the Save Our Sites event next February and have been a part of ACRP, SOCRA, and Magi before. So excellent. LinkedIn is really good to network as well. Don't underestimate coming to the Q&As, seeing someone in the position that you want to be and asking them. If if people come to me and ask me, I say, yeah, this is where I came from. This is my journey. It wasn't overnight. I can tell you that. I've been in for a long time. And so there is a journey to get there. Is there a free certificate with the ETMFs? Do you mean a free certificate to learn about ETMFs? I'm not sure, but Google it and see if you can find an ETMF training. Usually, when you're assigned to studies that have ETMF, they give you some initial training, like VivaVault will give you some initial training on their ETMF and how to navigate. So it just depends if you're looking for a training specific to ETMFs in general or a specific ETMF. So VivaVault is a specific one, but if you want to learn about them in general, um, there you might have to look online. And then I know Nicole, she's a really big TMF guru here on LinkedIn. So you may want to reach out to her to see if she knows as well. And I'll have to tag her, Nicole, as well. Can you provide more insight of being an observation research specialist? Uh, so usually observational studies are phase 4. But I need a little bit more information. Is it a study procedure in a particular protocol? Because sometimes they have like quality of life questionnaires and different questionnaires or assessments that are a part of a protocol. And so you have to have a specific like training to be to administer that particular assessment. So I need to know a little bit more. That's not a general role that we typically see a lot here in the US. So I need just to know a little bit more before I can advise there. How is it being different from being a CRA? Oh, okay. So thank you, Artie. Okay, so the previous question, can you provide more insight of being an observational research specialist and how is it different from being a CRA? Again, observational research specialist is not a term that is used often in the US. And so I need to learn more. Sometimes there's an oversight person that goes out, like site oversight, and they will go out and they kind of randomly select sites to just go and see and look at their processes, maybe look and do a little bit of monitoring, but they're more so it's just random and kind of sporadic. As opposed to a CRA, they have a 8 to 10 day on-site commitment per month. They're monitoring the data to ensure data integrity and patient safety. So these are a little bit different ones looking from more so a spot checking, making sure that SOPs and processes that were put in place for the study are being followed versus a CRA who's there to ensure that the data is sound and the patients are safe. Good question. Also, what opportunity? Okay. Also, what opportunities do we have abroad as a clinical research professional being a fresher? So you'll be surprised. Um, as part of, I did a series called Clinical Research Around the World. This past summer, I visited 13 countries in 7 weeks and interviewed and interacted with clinical research professionals in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Big CROs, the ICON, the IQVIAs, the PPDs, par excels, these are global companies. So just because they have a US base doesn't mean that they're not abroad as well. So just as the same advice of um, looking for either an opportunity to be a clinical trial assistant, a project support staff at a CRO, or even sites. You can be at the site level abroad. There's clinical research being conducted in all countries around the world. There's site level as well as CRO and sponsor level. So you just have to look to see what's around you. Same thing, make sure you have a good base of the foundation of clinical research. Why are we doing it? Look for opportunities to volunteer or get your foot in the door. But same advice as the US, just look to see what countries are there. What companies are there in your country. Yeah, that 5-hour clinical research crash course for Dan on YouTube, it is a good one that I refer a lot of people that are brand new to that one because it's perfectly explained and it gives you a good overview of what's going on in clinical research. Hi, Tiffany. I'm a quality manager. What things should I consider when manage this department? Quality manager at a sponsor, at a CRO. What type of quality are you looking at? And because you could be like processes and SOPs, or you could be lab quality manager, like, making sure that the lab samples are processed per the SOPs. So need a little bit more information so I can advise because it would be different based off of those two roles there. Most institutes offer clinical research certificates to only medical students. I am biology grad. No, I know UCSD Extension has a clinical research certificate in clinical trials design and management. They give you the core classes, the foundational classes, and then you can select electives. There's a lot more clinical research certificate programs online, more so than ever before, especially when I first got started. There were only a few, but now they're very common, and you don't have to be a medical student to take it. Because I wasn't a medical student and I was able to take it as well. I had a BS in chemistry and regulatory certification as well as medical terminology knowledge. How can I get in? Well, a lot of good experience there. I would say we need to look at your resume. If you have this much as a base, we want to make sure that your resume is formatted accordingly, because there's a way resumes should be formatted in clinical research in our industry versus any other industry out there. We are not limited to one page. My CV, my resume is 7 pages, because I want to showcase all of my experience from current all the way back 20 years. So I would say let's look at your resume, make sure we're highlighting your certificate programs. And then also we want to make sure that you're realistic in the roles that you are pursuing. Because if you're trying to apply for a CTM position with that experience, that's not enough. So also make sure you are reviewing the job description. I can't stress that enough. It's just think of anything else. If you have never been a pilot and you're applying to fly a United flight and they can't see any correlation to being a pilot on your resume, it's very hard for them to extend that position to you because pilot, you have lives at stake. But CTM, you have a study at stake. You are managing a $2.5 million study. We can't have someone who does not understand research and understand the key players be in a role like that. So you also have to make sure everyone's just setting those realistic expectations for the roles that you're applying to. And don't be afraid to start and step up. Start somewhere, step up. It may not be your ultimate goal, but get in, learn all you can because there's plenty of information you can learn at every level. This one, just have to put that out there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. I try to, help and be as informative as I can. I really, really enjoy what I do and helping others. Yes, they have been CTAs and now CRAs for the past. Yeah, so if they're CTAs, and this is for the previous question where she had some colleagues that want to be CRAs. If they're CTAs, that's great. And do they want to go from their CTAs and they want to go to they're already CRAs. So they took that path, that natural path. CTAs to CRAs, from CRAs they can go to lead CRA, from lead CRA they can go to CTM. That's a path to CRA, or from CRC to CRA is another path as well. So they're on the right track. Hello. I have a BS in medical laboratory sciences. How can I become a clinical researcher? Same. Having a degree is excellent. You want to have a degree, or there are some companies that will take you as well if you don't have a degree. You have an associate, or they will take the level of experience as opposed to having a degree or some combination. That's in the job description or requirements. They'll tell you. So look in there. Same thing. You're coming with a base of a science background, but do you know about clinical research? Do you know why we have to collect the informed consent before we do any study procedure on a patient? Those are the types of things and details that you have to know before becoming a clinical research person. So in that case, You got to do what is, learn about what is an informed consent, learn about what the drug development process is. Why do we have 4 phases? All of those things as a base. You have to do that to supplement. And then from there, I would say start as a CRC or another research assistant working in the lab, maybe to get some experience under your belt. If you are serious, join SOCRA, which will make you a part of a family and help you network. Yep. And a lot of times they have like discussion boards where you can go and ask questions and they post articles. So all of those things are really good. Um, Okay, because CRA is not an entry level role, what is a good segue from clinical research PhD background in the event the program was data management heavy? You can come in as a data manager, as a data management specialist, where you could be helping answer queries, close queries, post queries, helping with edit checks. Um, you can go that way. So and then that's some good experience to show for CRA because you understand the inner workings of data. And that's a big part of the CRA's job, looking at the data, analyzing the data, seeing trends. So it's good experience. You can go into the data manager. You can go into CTA. CTA is like the right hand to a clinical trial manager. The CTA is very essential to the team. They usually do a lot of trial master file filing. They do correspondences out to the sites. They do meeting minutes and create agendas. So they are more administrative, but they are definitely needed to every project. CRAs talk to CTAs a lot. CTAs go and speak to sites about documents needed. CTMs lean very heavily on CTAs a lot as well for helping them stay on task and helping them with their agendas and sending out meeting minutes and different things like that. So CTA is another option as well. CTA friend, okay, TMF, okay, perfect. I'm glad I answered that question. Okay, we have an e-source creator and here to connect with other e-source creators. That's some clinical research sites are e-source, some are still paper-based. So if your site is e-source and you need some tips and tricks, definitely connect. ISF, also known as Site Master File. Okay, yeah, Site Master File. We do in the US, we do more so investigator site file and regulatory binder. So thank you. So Site Master File, and then Trial Master File at sponsor level. So yeah, we answered those questions, and this is a perfect example of the same terms with small little tweaks per protocol, per country. That's what happens. CTA could be a project specialist. Those are two interchangeably. Clinical trial manager could be a project manager, could be a study manager, could be a clinical study lead, could be a COSL. There's a lot of interchangeable, but you want to always look at those job descriptions. They'll tell you and they'll explain a little bit further, and you'll be able to correlate. Okay, this is a CTA position, but it's called project specialist. Um, Hosanna, I think I answered your question. I'm just still going slow because I'm making sure we can get through all of them. But let me know if you still have some additional questions there. And then usually what I do after, for those that I weren't able to get to on this call, I go in the comments. So just check your comments as well, because I'll respond if it's an easy comment to respond to, or tell you to connect with me if it's harder. Do you know any trainer, preferably in the EU? Trainer for which role? I do, but it depends on which role. And a lot of trainers do, like the CTM course that I teach. we have international students. Right now, we have students in from the Philippines and from UK as well as the US. But previously, we've had Canadians join, people from Dubai, India. So you can be in a course that's based out of the US that that you align with. So it just really depends on who and what role that you're looking to be in. Okay, so hello, I'm a CRA2, have my MBA. My goal is to become a project manager or study manager. Can you give me tips on how to prep myself and a path to reach this goal? How long should I give myself to reach this goal? Great question. Go to ClinEssentials.com, download the guide, How to Transition to Clinical Trial Manager. Project manager, study manager is a clinical trial manager, just used interchangeably. It's 7 pages. It's going to outline what you need to do, what steps you need to take, how you can prepare yourself. Do know CRA is different than project manager. So you are going to need some kind of training to bridge the gap. And so that's why we have that CTM training, because we have a lot of CRAs, senior CTAs that want to transition to the CTM role, and they are not familiar with what a CTM is going to do. And we take them step by step from study startup through study closeout with career recommendations, resume reviews, salary negotiation tips to really help them with their path to CTM. So definitely, definitely. Thanks, Jess, for joining. Yes, this one. You can never learn enough in clinical research. Yes, there's always changes, new systems, new programs that you can go in and learn and learn and learn. Like you can always, I was just looking online for tips for PowerPoint. How can I make my PowerPoints more spiffy? So I'm looking online. I'm like, oh, I can add this. I can do this. I'm still learning. Even myself, you can always do. And if you find something that you're like, ooh, I'm really struggling with MS Teams, spend some time on YouTube, spend some time on MS Teams to find some videos, walk yourself through, get proficient. Whatever you are struggling with, spend some time. I have in the past spent an hour, 2 hours on my weekend to just get practice, practice, practice. And then the next time I used that system, I was more efficient. I wasn't trying to like really hunt around. I can go straight to the task that I needed to do because I spent that time. So don't underestimate like spending extra time where you need it. Hi, Tiffany. I've been an internal monitor for studies at our foundation for a while. I would love to know if I can get openings in remote monitoring. I'm based in Kenya. Um, your foundation, are you at a site, like a site level, which is great because you need to put that information on your resume. Any kind of monitoring, spot checking you're doing for other CRCs, that's valuable. That's valuable to put to your resume. I would love to get remote monitoring. Remote monitoring, it's a sought after position. A lot of people want to be remote monitors, especially CRAs, because they want to get off the road. So they are like, can I be a remote monitor? So look within Kenya at any of the big CROs and see what their central monitor positions look like, their in-house CRA positions look like, and look at those job descriptions and look at what are the requirements. Are you hitting those? Do you need to supplement with anything? That's going to tell you what that base is. Good question. Is it true that for freshers the salaries are not as much competitive? If so, then how is the financial progression? You always have to start small. You always have to get in and get some experience under your belt. But as you get the experience, your salary progresses. Your salary increases as you get the experience, as you go to different roles. So you should never stay stagnant, but you can't think you're going to come in starting at 6 figures. No, that's unrealistic. So again, you'll hear me say a lot, set those realistic expectations. You're coming from marketing or sales and you're saying, I want to be a CRA, I want to be making $100,000 out the gate, that's not realistic. And sorry to break it to you, but that's just not how our industry is going to work. And maybe by some chance you'll find that rare position out there, but that's not the norm. You may find one, but that's not the norm. So you have to set those realistic expectations for yourself. But once you get in with the experience, with the knowledge, you can quickly go up, 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 up into as far as you want to go. Um, any advice on studying for clinical research certificate exams? If you're talking about ACRP or SOCRA, definitely go on their websites because they outline these are the components that are going to be um, in our in our course. So they'll say we're going to ask. I mean, the exam, they'll say we're going to ask questions regarding ICH. GCP. So you want to make sure you brush up on ICH GCP. Or if they're going to ask about um, if you're taking a CRA exam, I would definitely suggest going to gcpfinding.com because you can do like practice monitoring modules and that can help you study as well. I am currently a clinical research patient recruiter with a BS in biomedical science and GCP certificate. I would like to be a CRA. What advice would you give me, please? Clinical research recruiter at the site level. If you're at the site level, network with your CRA that is coming in. Also, look for I would say network is going to be the big one to see because sometimes they'll know about entry level positions or program CRA training programs at their company, and they can, submit your resume or something on your behalf. So that's why networking, those CRA training and those entry level CRA cohorts that some of the CROs have, they fill up very quickly. So any kind of leg up that you can to get in there, that would be good. I would say try to also get some CRC experience. That would be good to get some CRC experience as well, because you're going to need that when you're a CRA. So try to get some CRC exposure for yourself as well. Uh, Okay, so hi Tiffany, pharmacy graduate and currently taking training for clinical SAS. How can I get an entry level in clinical research after the course completion? So whoever is teaching that course for clinical SAS, they should have a few connections on ideas on where they went up through that level. So my question to you, are you trying to be on the biostat side or you're trying to be on the data management side? You need to network with those that are in the current role or in the role that you want to be in and ask them their progression as well. What are other clinical research entry level roles other than clinical research assistant? Clinical trial assistant can be uh, clinical research coordinator, but sometimes that's used interchangeably. Let me see. You could go through like a data management. You can do some data management. You can do regulatory. There's a lot of different roles. You can do a regulatory specialist. You can be a patient recruiter. You can work on like patient outreach. So there's a lot. There are a lot that you can do. Um, what are some roles that are a level up from CRC, like the next level, CRA, CTA? Um, just kind of depends. But CRC with the foundation, you really can go anywhere. You can go data management. You can do a study startup specialist. If you were a heavy study startup study coordinator. Are there any hybrid CRA hybrid positions like hybrid like a lead CRA? Yeah, you'll have hybrid CRA, like you might have one or two sites, but then you're also leaning towards clinical trial management. So yes, that would be one, like a hybrid position. CRA hybrid is a lead CRA. Not every company has that, but that would be a hybrid where you still monitor and then you also are doing some clinical trial management. You can also look up podcasts done by professionals in the industry, Clinical Trials Guru, yep, Dan, CSRS Talks, Note to File with Brad, Clinical Research Payment Networks with Dr. Fox, yep, all of those. Engage with the host and those folks being interviewed. Exactly. When you see these live notifications, jump on, see who you're interacting with. Some organizations require certification for certification jobs, but not required unless you see it in the job description. Exactly. If they say ACRP designation required, that's a requirement for that job, but it doesn't mean the CRA certification is required for every job. Those job descriptions, it's almost like the recipe of the perfect employee or the employee that we're looking for. If the recipe is not calling for that, you don't need to add it there, but if it's calling for it, you have to have it. How to become an expert CRA to demonstrate transferable skills in Viva EDC. Um, Not too clear. How to become an expert CRA to demonstrate in Viva EDC. Well, EDC and in general, you have to know about EDC. As a CRA, the thing, if you want to show that you're really expert in the EDC, just making sure that you spend that extra time learning about it and asking your DM about how to do additional tricks and tips that they may have for DM and in that EDC system. Okay. Oh, and so the Viva EDC. Yeah, you wanna try to see if there's any, Viva EDC training out there. Have someone else look at your CV. Yep. I look at CVs a lot. At ClinEssentials, we have career services. We have a team of clinical research professionals that look at CVs, do mock interviews, career discussions. Hey, this is where you're at. Where are you looking to go? We have that in a confidential manner. We will talk to you and kind of educate you. It's like a Q&A session, but it's one-on-one. So that's you can find out more information on our website about that as well if you're interested. Um, what are the best CROs to work for in clinical research? I will say, everyone looks at the big ones, Icon, IQVIA, PPD, Par Excel, but don't forget the medium size to the small ones. That's one of the things. Look at all of them. There's everyone, each company, whether a CRO, sponsor, everyone has quirks, everyone has pros, and everyone quirks, pros, cons. So it's hard to say which one is the best. Just go to their website, look, ask people that work there, how do they like it? But also don't forget about medium and small ones as well. Um, which transferable skills required in future opportunities in clinical research? Um, like project management skills and the way to you have good communication, you're able to collaborate with others, you're able to manage timelines, you're able to work independently, being able to manage those things, those are good skills that work well in CRC, work well in CRA, CTA, CTM. Those are good transferable skills. So those are really good skills to have in clinical research. Knowing technology, knowing Microsoft Suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, learning how to do different presentations, being good speaker. All of those are good transferable skills. What other roles can What other roles can opt for other than CRA that does not require extensive travel and there's not a huge pay cut? So the question is, what is your salary expectation for whatever role you're going in? And then the next question is, there's a lot of roles in clinical research that don't travel. I myself went from CRA to CTM because I did not want to travel the extensive travel that I was doing as a CRA. So, what role do you like and you want what resonates with you? And then how much are you actually looking to make as well? Because you have to be realistic there. And then this is going to be the last question I'm going to take for today. Can you take ACRP and SOCRA as an in-house CRA? You have to look at the requirements for the exam. I believe that they want so many so many hours of experience, and you have to attest that you have the experience that will qualify you to sit for that exam. And the reason why I say look at the requirements is because every company you may be doing more tasks than the other in-house CRA. So look at those requirements for each of the tests for ACRP and SOCRA, so you can see what are the requirements, because you may be able to, based off of having over 3,000 hours and you're familiar with GCP and different things that they're going to be testing you on. So that would be my advice there. All right, so we are at the top of the hour. I am going to write down the last question that I took, and I'm going to go into the comments for those that came after that I wasn't able to address and just give you some feedback on the question that you asked. I thank you for attending. We will have another one of these sessions in the future, probably, I don't know, probably. I would say probably like November, October, November timeframe. I have to look at the calendar there. But do join. I thank you for your questions, and feel free to connect with me if we're not already connected on LinkedIn. Go to the ClinEssentials YouTube channel because we have a lot of videos where I'm explaining various scenarios. If you want that one-on-one kind of consultation, you can go to the ClinEssentials website and click career services and book. And then if you're looking to transition to the CTM role, definitely consider downloading that free guide for how to transition to CTM. And if you're really wanting some additional support and a training program, you can come train with me. I train aspiring and current CTMs on the CTM responsibilities from startup to closeout. So I look forward to interacting with you guys again, and thank you for joining, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.